Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Buddhatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Pyo Mabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. We have Ronaldo coming in and okay. So shall we begin with some questions or any suggestions? What shall we do?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Claudio.
Yeah. I would like, I had some doubts that comes back these few days about the location of objects. I had again some doubts. And if you want to, we can talk a little bit about that because I had a doubt about always. I already asked you this question, but it somehow creates me again a doubt because I'm still asking me that the objects that you see, now you perceive the five senses, and you know that we create the sense organs because there are the five elements, and you say that at the same time the sense organs are created. So in a way, can we say that the sense organs are looking inward, not outwards? It is correct. So you are not looking outside. The sense organs are not, I mean the sense instruments, let's say the sense instrument that are the last, no? So they are looking towards consciousness or not outside. Is this correct? Or
No, the sense organs, they are directed outwardly, okay? They were designed so that we can connect to the world of the five elements, no? Of the physical and subtle world of objects. So our sense organs, they can capture as well, you know, a subtle object. When we say that we can also capture subtle objects, we capture all subtle objects through the mind. The mind is a kind of a sensory organ as well. Some refer to the mind as the sixth sense, okay? So a lot of subtle objects, it's captured by us, by the mind, you understand? And the mind is capturing certain emotions or certain thoughts or conceptualizations and so on. You know, everything is an object if it is something other than ourselves, if it's something that can be seen, perceived, objectified. So the mind is a sort of sense organ for the inner objects, the object coming from the mental, emotional, subtle world. And the other physical material objects, they require these five senses of ours, and they are extrovert. Okay? So the thing is that when they receive this data, it is recognized somewhere in the mind, you understand? And then when we look into the physiology of the human jiva, we say that the brain recognize those images and so on, you know. But this is all in the physical realm, you understand? Physically is explaining the mechanics of perception. It is perceived in the mind, but it's often seen as if it's perceived in the brain. But the brain, you know, the brain is just matter there, you know, it's a watery matter. So it's perceived in the mind, and the mind, it needs the brain as the physical muscle or apparatus so that the mind can capture these objects. So what you need to understand, and the sense organs are extrovert towards the object, and the mind receives these inputs, you know, this, and then it somehow it recognizes the object for what it is. It's sometimes making wrong it's wrong knowledge, sometimes it's a proper knowledge, but it is towards the object. Okay, so the idea that the sense organs are looking inside may be due to a certain confusion between the mind and the brain. So it's not that the brain, the objects are happening in the brain. No, the objects are happening in the mind. Okay, everything is happening in the mind. Okay,
but,
so yet it's a little bit difficult for most people to understand that the world is happening in the mind, because if the mind goes to sleep, the world does not disappear. You understand? It disappears only for the sleeping person. But even though it does not really disappear, because it remains as potential, as seed, you know, it remains suspended as you know, as prana, as that dimension of predominance of tamas, in which objects do not appear and the subject-object duality does not come into place. So important thing to understand is, if the moment that we say, I, the body, and I perceive the world of objects, so I, the body, and then it makes no sense to say that the objects are happening in me. You understand? Because I have defined myself to be I, the body. Okay? The moment that we define ourselves to be the body, and then duality is reality, and the reality is I, the experiencer, subject, and all the objects, and then both are real, both are reality. There are a lot of philosophies based on the fact that either one, I don't know, the enjoyer, experience, the knower, and the object, they are both real. Vedanta says that either the experience, neither the experiencing entity nor the objects are real. The only reality is consciousness. Okay, so if we say I am the body, and then of course the location of the objects are out there. Okay, there is no doubt about that. The moment that I say that I am the mind, okay, and then it's a little bit confusing, okay, because the mind has all these states, and sometimes it goes to deep sleep, and then the objects disappear. You understand? So it's still subject to some confusion. No, we say no, the objects are always there. The mind sometimes is asleep, and then the objects do not occur in the mind, but yet the objects are outside there. And then I cannot establish that the objects really happen in the mind. The only way to understand that everything appears in the mind, appears in you. You understand? The locations of objects is in you as consciousness. So we need to be, you know, firmly, clearly established in our identity in consciousness as consciousness. Only then we can understand this location of object teachings, because everything is happening in consciousness. And the funny thing is that the mind of the experiencer is happening in consciousness. You see, the world is there and can only be perceived through the mind, and the mind perceives it through the sense organs. Okay, and there is no difference between the mind and consciousness. Therefore, the Upanishads can clearly and assertively state that Jivatma is Paramatma. Okay, because the intellect, the human intellect, the mind, is fundamentally consciousness. It does not exist apart from consciousness. So we have consciousness, and then within consciousness there is a superimposition, okay, created by Maya Shwara, in which requires an agent to experience this apparent order of reality. And then within consciousness appears the jiva, and the jiva perceives the other objects in the field. Okay, both are objects. So both these phenomena, and the jiva is not really the three bodies as we have established already. The jiva is the reflection of consciousness in the medium, in the reflecting medium. We have the jiva. So we have the three bodies. We have the jiva, and this jivatma perceives the other objects. So all of this is happening where? It's happening in consciousness. So two orders of reality. One is real, and the other is just a projection, an appearance. Okay, so we have consciousness, and then we have the human jiva, the intellect, the agent, the experienced knowing agent, and then he experiences what? The other objects. He's an object, he experiences other object. He's a sentient object, okay? So, but both, they are just a superimposition, appearance superimposition in consciousness. So if everything is just an appearance like a mirage, so the only reality is what? When we have a mirage in the desert, we know that the only reality is desert sand, it's the sand of the desert. So the other things is just an illusion, it's just a projection. So likewise, the scriptures say that this universe is nothing but a projection or superimposition in that which is our real true nature, which is consciousness, which is the true nature of everything, you understand? So you understand that everything is happening in you to the degree that you understand that you are consciousness. You understand, you accept, and you claim yourself to be consciousness in your true nature. And then you can understand that everything is happening in you, you understand? And not apart from you. I don't know if it helps. We can go more into that if anybody has more contributions.
So maybe I confused the fact that in Mithya, if I understand, in Mithya we can say that there is the objects are outside the mind of the jiva, but from the point of view of consciousness, everything appears in me.
Yeah.
So but from the point of view of Mithya, we can actually say that the objects are outside.
Yeah, of course. Mithya, I often say that in Mithya, duality is law. Mithya is the realm of duality, you understand?
Okay.
Which duality? Subject, object, the knower and the known, and the knowledge gained between these two principles. So in Mithya, everything is happening in plurality, in duality, diversity of superimposition, name and forms and colors and so on. So all of that is the show presented to us by Mr. Maya, you understand? And then in order for us to be free from all of this, we need to clearly and firmly understand our true nature as this pure light of consciousness, not as the intellect, and much less as the objects we relate to and we possess and so on, including the physical body, which is a very, very dear object to all of us. Everybody loves the body, the physical body, and we wish it would live forever.
Okay. So I was seeing from the point of view of my mind. I was confusing because I see from my mind, I say, okay, but so if my mind perceives an object, so it comes from outside, it's not only inside, and I was confused. Okay, it's only from the point of view of consciousness. Okay, because consciousness is clear, because consciousness is always there. Existence, consciousness is always there. Yeah, so it's the only reality, and everything appears in it. Okay, but the objects are perceived by the jiva first.
Yeah, the object, but they happen.
Even then the object.
They are perceived by an apparent jiva. They are apparent objects perceived by an apparent jiva, and all this apparent show is happening within the scope of consciousness, you know. So consciousness is not by itself a knower, perceiver, experiencer. Okay, it becomes in this secondary order reality when Maya, plays its show. You understand? And then we need to understand. I'm not an experienced knower, but yet, I am the light that somehow shines in the human intellect, that I make myself consciousness apparently a knower of this the apparent order of reality, So it's not just philosophy to all of this. This is just scriptural knowledge that needs to be understood and realized, because that's the only gateway into freedom, into living a better life, relaxing and getting over this attachment to the physical body and its temporality and so on, constant change.
Okay.
The whole purpose is to reveal. This revelation is the revelation of the true identity nature of the jiva as pure self, pure consciousness. You understand? All these teachings, they are just tools to help us. And we often say that the world happens in the mind. Yes, it happens in the mind, in the sense that the mind exists, not apart from consciousness. Although consciousness does not really perceive the world, it does perceive the world when the apparent world, when in association with the apparent jiva, apparent mind. You understand? And then we say,
So
what is the distance between the mind and consciousness? So we know the mind is not real, consciousness is real, and then we should never even consider the idea of a distance between something that is not real and something that's real. But those are tools to help us to understand that the mind is a phenomenon. This Jiva Atma is something that appears, in consciousness, although it's not real. You understand?
Because in the last time I was a lot on the seeing objects in the world, perceiving objects, and also see that these objects are consciousness. At the end, are okay, have a form, have qualities, or so forth and so on. But essentially, they are consciousness. I was a lot on this, and I was confused a little bit because I perceived that when I perceive a thought, an emotion, when I perceive an object also outside, now I start to clearly see that it's essentially a form, name and form, that it's the consciousness that enlivens, that gives existence on this. And I see a lot of the existence. I can see an object and I can see that it exists, and it is principle that is the consciousness. And I was confused about the fact that, okay, but what I am seeing, actually, I'm seeing the world outside, inside. Okay, now it's clear, because it's the jiva. In the world of Mithya, there is jiva and objects. Okay.
Yeah. When we see the world of names and forms, we see it by their existence, and then we know that there is only one existence, So I'm seeing all of this, and this is me. And then when we say that consciousness, when we say that everything is consciousness, it's more like that, because consciousness is the same thing as knowledge. You understand? So we think consciousness even produce all the inert objects and produce the sentient objects. Okay, the jivas. Nah? When we say that consciousness, is jiva, is because it in association with the reflection. It's reflection. It produces the I thought. It produces the thoughts. So consciousness in association with thought, we can say that it is knowledge, and knowledge is consciousness, and then we can identify that these jivas, they are made out of knowledge. You understand? But we know that even the inert objects are made out of pure knowledge. Ishvara is pure knowledge, and it's his pure sattva that allows him to produce either inert objects and sentient objects. So when we see a tree is a jiva, but when we see a rock or any other mineral or the earth and so on, so although there is no question of a subtle body there, producing sentience to a rock or mineral or anything like that, we know that it was made out of consciousness because it exists, and we know that even inert objects, they are made out of knowledge. The knowledge of Ishvara is the one that constitutes everything. So Ishvara is already an apparent phenomenon that happens in Mithya, you understand? So Ishvara is also not really real. It's part of Mithya's order. Other reality, but what it does, it takes the pure knowledge, sattva, which is the intelligent cause, the efficient intelligent cause of this manifestation of this apparent reality. It takes that, and out of that, it mixes up with rajas and tamas and produce all kinds of objects. You understand? So everything comes out of knowledge, existence. You understand? And we identify that consciousness is behind every inert object because it exists, but also understanding that Ishvara would never be able to produce that with the consciousness knowledge that which allows Ishvara to produce this beautiful, intelligently designed universe of names, qualities, and forms. What do you think? You think our sun is going to shrink? We don't have Dave, we don't have Karen, we don't have Ruth.
I don't know.
Yes, Lynn, you are going to say something? Lynn, your mic is off.
Oh. I was just so when you were talking before, it just occurred to me how huge this reversal is. And I've heard it talked about as a reversal. And for the jiva to know itself as Paramatma, Jivatma, to big reversal. Just crazy, really. It's almost like science fiction, the things you have to do, the way you have to change your outlook. Yeah.
Yeah. So duality is the original reverse, no? Produced by Maya. The jiva sees the world and believes that it's happening outside there and finds that this duality is reality. And then Vedanta comes to reverse the reverse, which is seen from this angle. It seems a bit crazy, but once we get to do this job, this work, we understand that it's not that complicated. It's just the fact that all of this is just an apparent reality. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was searching in the beginning, I was just trying to relax my mind with meditation. But very soon I understood that before Vedanta, that the only freedom was in understanding that I'm not the mind but consciousness. And then of course later on I had to understand that consciousness actually is the only reality. The mind is not real, the ego is not real. That was, and then on a third stage I had to to process and understand that consciousness is limitless. Therefore, I am limitless in my nature. No? So it's fundamentally it's all very simple, but to accept it, to claim it, to understand and claim it. Like Dayananda, in some of his talks, I saw some people that they made some posts on Facebook some years ago, in which Dayananda was hammering on the fact that finally enough, towards the end, this self-knowledge and moksha is nothing but accept and claiming, claiming. It's a process of claiming. I understood I am, but I'm still resisting it. I'm still, a little bit not clear or having doubt, suspiciousness. And then claiming it, yes, I understood. I am consciousness. Now what? So I am conscious. So I need to understand that what is Satya and what's Mithya very, very clearly. You understand? Because as I said before, in Mithya, duality is law. But every reality is that consciousness is non-dual. The self is non-dual, and this is the only reality. The other is just a projection, apparent order of reality, a reality, as we say, So understanding Satya and Mithya in its entirety is fundamental for us not to get confused and run into some abstractions or.
This discussion reminds me of a quote by Swami Sarvapriyananda. He says, "The body, the mind, and the world arise simultaneously. Either I'm all of this or I'm none of this."
Yeah, so he comes from a different lineage of Vedanta. You understand? And this is a statement that we avoid in our lineage, to say that either I'm none of this or I'm all of it, because we can never say that that Satya is Mithya. You understand? We can say that that Mithya, is an apparent order of reality that occurs within consciousness. Like Krishna says, all of this, is there, it's happening in me, but I'm none of these things, So we need to be careful with these statements. But so I would say that all of this is just an apparent order of reality, and I stand independently free from all of this as the only reality, These are just as good as a mirage. Okay, or you can say this is all, I'm everything there is. Okay, you can say that. I am the real and I am the apparent real, you said. But often I find that people tend to get a little bit attached to the world when they make these claims that I am everything, I am everything. Usually it says like, okay, I am this world and so on, So we can say that Ishvara is everything.
Well, the way I understand it is either I'm all of this, meaning this is all non-duality, there's only one thing here, and that's me, or I'm none of this, I am pure consciousness. So that's the way I understand it. Either I'm all of it, which is everything which is non-dual, just one, or I'm none of it, which is just pure consciousness alone. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to explain it and put it. So if because this order of reality is already in itself duality. When we say I'm all of it, yet we are stating that this is reality somehow, and there is I am the totality of the manifestation. So this statement is more correct in terms of Ishvara. Ishvara is the intelligent cause and also the the material, and manifest cause, the universe manifests is Ishvara. And then Ishvara is the totality, but it's also it's intelligent cause. But the fundamental nature of Jiva Ishvara, as we know, is consciousness of the self, or Satya, is the only reality. It pervades this appearance, you know. This appearance is just a superimposition, okay? But to say that I am all of this, yeah, I am in all of this, but none of this is really impacting me, or you know. Yeah, you can say that all of this is in me, but I'm not in any of these, like Lord Krishna says in the Gita, is more certain. You understand? That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, I understand the point you're trying to make. Yeah,
because
definitely.
There are a lot of people have the tendency to think in terms of non-duality as the totality of all names and forms, but the totality of all names, forms, Manarupa, yeah, the totality is itself a phenomenon in duality, you know, the world, you know, and the observer of the world, you know. So it is already a manifestation in duality, because the world comes out of Maya. You understand? So we don't find non-duality by considering that the self is the totality of all parts of the universe. You understand? Because the scriptures say clearly that the self is a partless whole. You understand? Is something else. The self is conscious existence. And this world is made out of many parts, but fundamentally, it's all consciousness, and consciousness is not the totality of all parts. Ishvara, we can say, in its manifest aspect, it is the totality of all names and forms. Understand?
Arlindo, but can we say, for example, that the knowledge of Ishvara, can we say that it is in seed form in consciousness? Because Maya is, this is my understanding, maybe wrong, but Maya is like a mirror that somehow took the knowledge, and the knowledge is in seed form in consciousness, no? And then he projects something. Can be this?
No, consciousness is beyond knowledge and ignorance. Consciousness is beyond the gunas. There's no question of sattva. You know, these words sattva and satya. Satya is consciousness, existence, the self. And then out of that, so Maya brings about sattva. Sattva is the primordial energy. Okay, and this energy is something that it's a small reflection of the self. Okay, which is Ishvara, which is made in its constitution, you know, constitution. It's made of pure knowledge, intelligence, sattva. Okay, so but this is already a phenomenon that happens from Maya. Before Maya, there is no question of knowledge. So you see, I mean, Maya is this principle that projects the universe. So we can never project or create anything without knowledge, and this is something easy for us to understand. You understand? So we know that we need a principle to project this universe, and we know this. The only reality seems to be, if we analyze our own experience, seems to be totally actionless, because it's a witnessing principle. You understand? Conscious existence principle, which does not do anything. And then we need energy to do things, and we need knowledge to bring about, to create. We need energy, knowledge, and then we need also the raw material. Okay, so when Maya comes into place, it produces first sattva. Okay, sattva becomes Ishvara, which is the knowledge, intelligent cause of the universe. You understand? And then, of course, in order to create it, needs the other two energies as well. But all of this has nothing to do with consciousness. But you have to understand the consciousness being one without nothing. Okay, it's just the existence which is building in everything, and it is the knowledge that is there sustaining everything that is projected, you know, and maintained and recycled in due time. So we need these three principles, you know, the intelligent cause, the energetic cause, we can say, and the material cause, and then we produce it. But it's all part of this apparent show. It's not real, you understand? And the consciousness is witnessing principle that can be experienced by the jiva, you know, as the reflection of consciousness. And then how it reflects in the human intellect, this self, this consciousness. It reflects as knowingness, as consciousness, as the ability to know and experience, you understand? And then we can infer as well that if the reflection is knowledge, the nature must be pure knowledge, must be pure consciousness. The reflection is the ability to know things, in the case of the human jivas, and then there must be something which is pure consciousness knowledge. But this pure consciousness knowledge is not a knower. It's not a knower agent, you know. It's just the nature. The nature of consciousness is knowledge. You understand? But it needs this reflecting, you know, apparatus, this reflecting medium, the subtle body, to produce knowledge manifests as knowledge, as knowing things, you understand? And you cannot know anything unless there is what? Duality, the knower and the objects of knowledge. So all of this is brought about from Maya, but consciousness is said to be pure knowledge, but it's not a knowing agent. And this is a little bit confused in the beginning, you know?
Yes, and so if I understand, you mean that pure consciousness is really something untouched by Maya, but at the same time, they are not separate, right? We can say that the wave is the ocean, and the ocean is not a wave. This is what I mean.
Yeah. So Maya is the first modification in consciousness. Okay, the most primordial duality is consciousness and Maya. Okay, so now we try to understand Maya, and in our Panchadas we're gonna go a little bit deeper into this conversation. Yeah, we try to understand Maya, but the very scripture says that it is very difficult to be understood because it exists, but it does not exist. And we know that there is no such a thing intellectually understandable that does not exist. We have already established before. Just 1 second, because my battery is low now. We have already established some other teachings and analysis that there is no such a thing as non-existence, okay? And then when we say that Maya is, but is not, exists, does not exist, it's already pointing to something that cannot be really understood, you understand? Because we know that we cannot have this universe without a cause. And we know that consciousness is said to be the causeless cause. Nothing causes consciousness, and consciousness causes the universe. But it causes universe without doing anything. And then what you need? We need somebody who is going to do the job. Who is going to do the job? Maya. And where Maya comes from? You understand? If the only reality is consciousness is one without a second, and then there is no place for this modification into consciousness, which is called Maya. Then where are we going to place Maya? We place Maya in Mitya, we place Maya in consciousness. You understand? So of course Maya is Mitya, but it seems to be something so closely associated or intimate to consciousness that sometimes it projects this show, and sometimes the show goes off. You understand? So where are we gonna put this Maya thing? You know? So Maya is media, and Maya is the cause of the universe, but it cannot do that unless it has a background on which to project the world. And the background is, or the substratum on which is consciousness. So it's very difficult. I mean, that's why the easiest thing is to equate Maya with Shwara. No, there are a lot of teachings that use Maya, Shwara, almost as synonymous, you know, because Maya is this reflector, this macrocosmic reflecting medium, you understand, that brings about Ishwara, you know, and then brings about Jivas and brings about the world, you know. So when it reflects in pure sattva, it brings about Ishwara, and we have to remember there is no such a thing as pure sattva either. Even the Ishwara is still a reflection that requires some rajas and tamas. You understand? But it's very, very predominantly sattvic, that reflection. When it reflects on the aspect of this macrocosmic medium, reflecting medium, the rajasic aspect, the more dominate by rajas, produce the jivas, and when it reflects in the more tamasic, it produces the universe. Those are technical descriptions or teachings that we find in Vedanta. You understand? So we need to have these three energies so that this show can come into place. Okay, we cannot create without intelligent knowledge, and the know-how has to be there. And then we need to have some other energies, such as the projecting power, you know. And then we need to have the raw material, tamas. So where is Maya? Maya can only be, you know, something that once in a while wants to play with consciousness and say, okay, so I'm going to project some duality and see how you're going to deal with it. And then it happens that when he projects it, consciousness appears as the jiva. And then why Maya does that, nobody will ever understand. And then the scripture says, yeah, it's just because, you know, who knows? Maybe consciousness was bored and then has found a friend Maya to sometimes to play this show. We don't know. I mean, we know that we are caught up into this show. It's not real, but we take it to be real, and the only way to get out, let's say, or to live in it without being afflicted by it, is to understand the reality of all of this, and the reality of this conscious awareness, in which, you know, I mean, there are many ways we look into this conscious awareness. Is the substratum, is the background on which a projection, at the same time is the true light that you know, that enlivens and illumines the intellect, so that the intellect has this ability to know, to perceive, to experience, to interact, and so on. So there are different ways the teachings present different tools for us to understand our nature as similar to space and similar to physical light, because the aspect of knowledge of our consciousness is what allows us to know things as we do, you know, to know what we know, to know what we don't know, and so on, and to be confused. Even to be confused, you need some degree of knowledge. So, and then the aspect of existence, you know, is what allows us to also to see, to perceive everything as the same existence, you know, which is the world of names and forms. Understand? So they're all tools. All these tools, teaching tools, they point to one single goal, which is to help us to understand that we are this light of conscious existence, and our nature is limitlessness.
Mhm. Very interesting.
Oh, interesting is a strange world, huh? When I went to I went to live in the USA, I came from Italy. And then I start living there, working, doing business. And then sometimes I would tell people, oh, this is interesting, because in Italy, interesting seems to be something very nice and good. But in USA, it has a different connotation, they told me. When you say something interesting, it's like, you know, you're not sure. Isn't it, Lynn?
It can have that interpretation for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's also interesting as attractive. So it's both. It
both.
depends upon the tone of voice,
Okay, for me it's attractive. Maya, it's attractive.
Yeah. So it needs to grow to become fascinating.
But it's little by little more clear. So
yeah.
Okay.
I love the term you used when you said primordial duality. Just gave me a lovely sense of the truth of Maya. It's a great phrase.
Yeah.
And also that the total of, how you say before, because a lot of people say that the total is consciousness. No, the total is already an appearance in consciousness. Also, this is very important. I think.
Consciousness is not a sum of parts, you know. Consciousness is the substratum of this Ishvara body. Ishvara body is the universe, the physical body. You know, saying Ishvara is the totality of all names and forms, plus the laws governing this appearance order and so on, you know. So all the knowledge and so on. So, but consciousness is just the substratum.
The other day in the Panchadasi, you described Maya as a talent of, or like a talent of consciousness. I was thinking also perhaps it's a Shakti of consciousness. What do you think?
A challenge. I have to recall, I have to read it to see again what it says. This is a very interesting point. You call it a challenge. It's
no, it's a talent.
Oh, a talent. Yeah. This is an analogy that we find in the scriptures when we run out of ideas on how to describe Maya, and then we draw this parallel between a talent that certain people may develop, you know. Yeah. And the other thing you were saying is
a Shakti, a power of consciousness.
Yeah.
Shiva Shakti, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it's often present as Prakriti, the essential nature of everything manifests in media, you understand? So, but the fact is that we don't really have the means, the way to understand Maya. What is this Maya? You know, it cannot be a Shakti or energy of consciousness, because consciousness is one without any inclusion. There is no even room for any very subtle energy. You understand? So Maya is a pain in the butt. It's just there to you know to create confusion for consciousness, and then consciousness appears as the jivas and feels a little bit apparently limited by the body by which it appears. You know, I think Maya likes to pull the legs of consciousness. That's why it does that. Just kidding. Just a play.
What does it mean? Pulls the leg of consciousness. What does it
provoking,
mean?
pulling, poking, you know? Yeah, they're just like, okay, I want to see how limitless you are. Try this one, some projections on you, you know. And now I want to see how you feel about that. Now your jivas are going to feel limited. That's nice. This has been a good session so far. I think we are not going to enter into the big picture. We have room for one more question or any contribution or any topic, or I can just go and read the headlines of the big picture. We may cover next time or not if we have more good questions like today. It's good, huh? You see what it proves today. We are not David dependent for our Q&As. Now we have gained moksha from David.
Yeah, sometimes when there are a few people, you can discuss also more easily.
When we are less people,
the discussion also, it's more easy sometimes.
What did we do last time? Did we complete the Upasana Yoga meditation thing? You remember?
No, we were in the middle of the Upasana chapter.
Does anybody remember where we stopped?
I believe we said that we were going to begin with the big picture, but that's my recollection.
Begin with what?
The big picture, beautiful, intelligent ignorance.
Okay. Then it means we have concluded the mental disciplines.
I believe.
Hold on, there's some confusion here because Lynn's talking about Panchadasi, and I think Arlindo's talking about the big picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we were on the mental discipline. I think we were on. We have to start the mental discipline.
The mental disciplines. Okay. Yeah.
I think you're right, Claudio.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So we can cover a little bit of this because most of us from the West, we enter the spiritual world by we are introduced by meditation. Most of us, we heard about some yogis, some yogas, and some things that allows us to relax the body and relax the mind. And then we have a better experience of the world. We have a better experience of ourselves. So relaxation is the most common. There are 4 aspects of this mental discipline. And in the beginning is relaxation. So everybody wants to have a relaxed mind because tense, worried, stressed, agitated, disturbed mind, it's very uncomfortable. So it produces emotional suffering. So we want to have a relaxed mind. The mind should be protected against this stress that we live in modern society. A relaxed mind is capable of accomplishing anything in life, from material to spiritual goals. The ability to cultivate a relaxed, tranquil mind is essential. So as we know, we need then, as Vedantins, we need to understand that a relaxed mind means a mind which has developed more sattva, has more sattva, and then it's more reflective, and it's less rajasic, and it's less tamasic. So if we may remember the difficulty to go and enter meditation when the mind is too rajasic. So I remember it used to be a very, very uncomfortable exercise or discipline to try to meditate, and the mind is very stressful, very agitated, and the body wants to move again and again, and one thought after the other. So it's like asking a small child, a 2-year-old child, to stay sitting for 15 minutes. It's a torture to the child. So a jumping, extroverted mind, it has a hard time trying to stay put on one single point, you know, or even just to stop saying, oh no, I don't want to think anymore. Okay, stop. And the mind is not stopping, you know, because there is a momentum there, you know. So we know that a relaxed mind is a mind that has more sattva operating, you know. Sattva brings about not only focus and clarity, but it brings about this relaxation. And a relaxed sattvic mind is a mind that is an excellent tool for success whatsoever accomplishment or pursuits or endeavors we take in mind. So if we are if we are a materialist people, but if we are blessed with a more sattvic mind and we have enough rajas, so we will have a lot of success, you know, and we could have success even playing by the rules, not like violating dharma as most business people of these big corporations do. You understand? You can just follow dharma and use your sattva in combination with some rajas because your mind is relaxed. A relaxed mind can see things more clearly for what they are and make better readings and present better actions and in accordance with its goals. Yeah? This is the relaxation, which is something that brought most of us foreigners into spirituality. The other is concentration, which is another problem, which on the same time, it's not apart from relaxation. The mind is to be relaxed. Why? Because if the mind is too agitated, the mind is having too many thoughts coming one after the other. If you have one thought after the other, yeah, so the mind is agitated, is stressed, is worn out, and of course, and it does not have any focus because if you try to, okay, now I want to focus on this one, and then when you say all these thoughts are coming, you know, and making it difficult, if not impossible, to do certain works. I remember when I was very young, I had difficult to concentrate. My difficulty was big. I had a hard time. It was difficult for me to start reading books because I had all these thoughts, you know, just going one after the other. That I read one line and then my mind went somewhere else. I have to go back and read that line again, you know. It was difficult to be a student with a mental condition such as that one. So concentration, it depends on a relaxation. So your mind is relaxed, therefore now the thoughts are coming in a nice mode, you know, not like bombarding you want with stimulus. And then you have the ability to deliberately concentrate the mind on certain thoughts, on certain topics that you want to work. So it is ability to focus the mind, it depends on relaxation. And it is very, 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 very important for our spiritual goal as self-knowledge and moksha, because we know that Vedanta is not about feeling good or experience silence or emptiness. When I lived with Osho Rajneesh, he was an experiential kind of guru, the guru that wants you to experience silence and peace. Huh? And he used to emphasize again and again, meditation is not concentration. Meditation is not concentration. Again and again, he used to say that. He wants to present to us the idea that meditation is just the ability to stay in silence, you know, in silence, watching, observing in silence without thought. You just see the world, you see your emotion, you see your thought, but you are the watcher on the hill, as he used to say. And he used to make a point. This is not a concentration. It's pretty much, you know, what nowadays we call the mindfulness meditation, which is not different from. There are two kinds of meditation. One meditation is when you get the mind and brings to one focus. You know, you develop one pointedness and you start focusing the mind on one thing. And the other is to get the mind and to withdraw from focusing on anything and step back and remain just watching all this flow of thoughts object, né, coming from the causal body without making connections with them. Understand? One is to say, no, I'm going to control my mind, and these thoughts are come, but I'm going to hold on to one single thought. Aham Brahmasmi, for example. Okay? And the other is to say, okay, all these thoughts are coming, I'm going to pull back until these thoughts have no power over me, and then they are going to go their way and leave me alone. Okay? Which is the mindfulness kind of way, style of meditation, you know? Or practicing presence, practicing presence. All those are efforts that we can make, you understand, to identify unconscious, to identify as consciousness, you know, which gives us this sense of presence or existing presence, you know. So concentration is that you just bring the mind to a particular topic for a given length of time. And as Vedantins, we know that concentration is what we need to develop together with relaxation. But we don't want to develop relaxation so that we go into samadhi and we remain there absorbed in emptiness, in silence. As Vedantins, we want to develop relaxation so that we can bring one-pointedness, alertness, you know, and bring it into the Mahavakyas, the mantras of Vedanta, the teachings of Vedanta. We need this one-pointedness, this focus, you know. So the expansion is another aspect of these mental developments, you know. It's an ability that we have to have an open mind, a mind that is looking to the teachings of Vedanta and not fighting with them because I am attached to my old previous notions. I have an open expand. It can expand to receive, you know, and it has a much larger view of things, you know, and it comes to the point of having even a much wider view of even the ego and the mind of the meditator. As a meditator, you just start, you know, seeing things from a larger perspective. You're expanding your mind. An open, expansive, and inquiring mind, and not to be prisoner to narrow, limited mindsets. And the fourth aspect is refinement. A refined mind occurs when the cultivation of ethical values, when the mind is a very, very dharmic, you know, it got away, it somehow got rid of most of the negative feelings, tendencies, and attitudes and actions, you know. So it's the byproduct of a process of purification or refinement of the mind, which involves, you know, Upasana yoga, but most important, Karma yoga to begin with, because we can develop an ethic mind only to the extent that we understood Karma yoga as well. Now, so a refined, pure mind, it's a dharmic mind. These critical faculties can be developed by the practice of Upasana yoga, that of course in association with Karma yoga. And it does not mean to say that we need to do 5-10 years of Karma yoga and Upasana yoga, and then after 10 years we can go into Yana yoga. No, Yana yoga has to go into this mixture, you know, because we need to work on all levels. We want to work on a Mitya level, Satya level, you know, and we want to purify and refine the mind. Although refinement or purification of the mind is not the ultimate goal, but it is also a good goal, and it's required so that we can have the qualifications needed for the assimilation of this spiritual knowledge, Jnana Yoga Vedanta. Okay, so I'm gonna let you all go. I need to go out to do certain things. I'm gonna have lunch now. It was a lovely session with only the 5 of us, and I'm gonna put it up and hope some people will enjoy it as well. Okay, we meet again next Monday, Ishwara willing. And love you guys. See you soon again. Namaste. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you again. Hugs and kiss. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Bye now. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Mark. Bye-bye. Bye, Lynn. Bye, Claude. Bye, Ronaldo.